Yes, welcome back to the second part of the video. In the first part, I showed you how to do this nice edging around the round neck. And in this video, I will continue and show you exactly how to do ribbing 2x2 and finish off with this nice edge, like in this example or this example. So if you want to see how I do it, please stay tuned. And we finished off here in our previous video. And now you can continue with ribbing one by one. In my example, I will show you ribbing 2x2 because there is a little trick when you're about to finish and bind off. I will show you this trick in the very end when I come to this part. So at the moment, we continue as wide as you wish. You select it for your neckline, ribbing 2x2. Simple, knitting in the round, ribbing 2x2. We continue ribbing 2x2, and I come when I will knit exactly the height I want. Let's say this is my ribbing 2x2. Now, in order to make this nice bind off, and it will look like Italian cast on, just we will bind off in Italian cast on way. It will look the same. In order to do that, we need to switch from ribbing 2x2 to ribbing 1x1 and knit 4 rows of double stockinette stitch. How do we do that? If we will do a double stockinette, if you will see the purl stitch, we will go, for example, slip the stitch with yarn in front. Next one should be the knit stitch. How do we get? We just switch stitches. Wait. Yeah, be careful not to lose a stitch. And now we knit. The next stitch is our purl stitch, so we slip it with yarn in front. Next one already is our knit stitch. We knit it. Now is a purl, that's correct. We slip it with yarn in front, and now we need to change place the next two one. You will be careful. Up, up. And now the order is ready. So now we again knit the knit stitch and the purl stitch. We move with yarn in front. Again, knit, purl stitch with yarn in front, and we switch again. Change the order of the stitches. And now again we have in front our knit stitch. We knit it, and this is our sort of purl stitch. We slip the purl stitch with yarn in front. And this way we switch from the ribbing 2x2 to ribbing 1x1. Until end of the row, follow the same two steps. Knit the knit stitch, move, slip this purl stitch with yarn in front, and if there is, you need to reorder stitches, you reorder stitches and continue. The second row will be a little bit different, so I'll see you when we get to the second row. We finished our first row with changing order of the stitches to switch from the ribbing 2x2 to 1x1. Now we are at the second row. In this row we will not change the order. We already have 1x1 ribbing, and in the second row what we do, this was our slip stitch with yarn in front from the previous row, and because it was slipped, this row we will work it. So it was unworked, the previous row, and this row we will work it following way. The purl stitch we purl, and which was knit stitch before, we slip it, like we put as the purl, slip it with yarn to back. If before the purl stitch we slipped with yarn to front, but in second row we slip the knit stitch with yarn in back. And this was our purl stitch. The purl was simply purl, slip stitch with yarn to back, purl, slip stitch with yarn in the back, purl, slip with yarn to back, purl, slip the knit stitch with yarn to back. And this way we continue the second row. The row number 3 will be exactly like row number 1, just without reordering the stitches. Okay, we see a purl stitch, slip it with yarn in front, and knit stitch, knit, purl stitch, slip with yarn in front, knit, slip, yarn in front, knit, slip the purl stitch with yarn in front, knit. And this will be our third row. And finally the row number 4, this will be the last row of this double knitting. And now we will repeat the same as we did in row number 2. We see this purl stitch, we purl, and the knit stitch we slip with yarn in the back, purl, slip the knit stitch with yarn at the back. And this will be our last row, and I'll see you when I finish this. There you go. These are our 4 rows in total, 2 rows in front instead of 2 rows at the back, because we always were slipping 1 stitch. We didn't work 1 stitch, and we worked it in the second row, so practically we did 4 rows, but 2 rows in front, 2 rows in the back. And as you can see, it's ribbing 1 by 1. Now we can cut the yarn and leave around 3 times the length of the circumference of the round neckline. And now we come to the most interesting part. We will do the elastic bind off, which looks exactly like telling cast on. We will use the technique the same as in Kitchener stitch. I have the separate video where I show exactly how the Kitchener, or sometimes we call it grafting, is done. And with this example we'll use the same logic. Okay, here is our knit stitch. We go purlwise into this knit stitch. Make sure the stitches are not twisted. Okay, once we were in this stitch once. Okay, now we move to back, and also in order not to slip, we just in this purl stitch we see, we put the needle through the back loop. Okay, we can release now these 2 stitches, they are secured. Now what we have to do, move the yarn to front, and we find this first stitch, the knit stitch we worked in, and we go to pick up this left leg of the stitch. Okay, we go into the next stitch, in the next knit stitch purlwise. You see, we sort of create again the knit stitch. From this stitch is a left leg, and from next stitch the right leg, and we knit through both loops. Well, we move the needle through both loops, and in the top we will see another sort of like stitch developing. We don't tighten up too much. We move now the working yarn to the back, and we find this here, our stitch on the other side, the previous stitch, the left leg, and we go this purl stitch knitwise. You see, the both sides will look the same. You see, on the other side, which looks like purl stitch on the right side, on the other side it's the knit stitch, and we have to work like this way. So now find the previous stitch, put purlwise into the next stitch, pull the yarn through. Now we move. If it's easier, you can even move on to the, just to see the stitches clearer. This is this top stitch which we create. Okay, we don't touch this. We need to find exactly the stitch under it. Now this is our stitch. Okay, move to the back or to the front, find this previous stitch, purlwise into the next stitch, and don't tie too much, just so you don't pull the stitches. And now to find the previous one, it's here, yeah, and knitwise into the next. And from now on it's like two-step process. Find the previous, put in the next. And we have this nice bind off, which looks rounded, no seam. If you want, sometimes I just manually, to even the tension out between the stitches, every, I don't know, 5-6 stitches, I just try to make them nicer from the top. Okay, and this way we continue all our stitches in the round. I know, you would say, finally. Yes, finally we are at the last 2 stitches. And now we'll just to show you how to finish off. Where is our last stitch? It is here. And from the back. Now just last touch. We will join with the beginning of the row. Just exactly the same way. Find this first stitch here. And at the back as well. Where should it be? We're doing this Now we are ready to hide the yarn tails. I will do it later. I just want to show you how it looks once it's finished. I will show you how it looks once it's done. Of course, this is the children's size. I made it like mini version so I can knit faster. On the other side it looks also neat. And we are done.